Hello, hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the 13th Dimension. And tonight, we have a very special guest, one of my nearest, dearest, and craziest of friends, Jennifer Lee.
Thank you. I like how you throw that part in, Jeremy.
I believe it or not, I have been rehearsing that all day long to make sure I was going to get that right.
I'll take it.
We have a lot of people out there telling you hello, Joanne, Denise, Robin.
Robin, Denise, Joanne, hello.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. So, how you been, Jennifer? It's been a long time.
It's been a while. I know. We were just talking about that. It's been a long time since we've actually chatted. I'm doing good, actually. I'm doing super good. I have been, I've got some big goals I'm working towards that I'm like professionally and personally, that I'm making good headway on. I have some news, but I can't share it yet. I'm just going to say this. I have some exciting things coming. How's that?
Big scheme on us tonight.
And I'm so excited.
Well,
what about you? How are you doing?
I've been doing good. I have been staying so busy doing a lot of writing and all kinds of other different projects.
Good.
I like your new background.
Thank you. So yeah, I bought like 3 or 4 of them. So I'm going to be switching them out.
Yeah.
I got tired of the other one. I'd had it for like over a year. So I was like, it's time. It's time for something else. I was going to surprise you with the aliens tonight, the one with the aliens, but I just didn't get it done.
Yeah. Well, I've always did like that one because it always seemed to fit you.
Yeah.
This one here, this is more like your actual background at home, isn't it?
Pretty close. It is. Yeah. Mountains, the pine trees. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robin says we can just imagine Bigfoot hiding in the trees.
Actually, if you really wanted to, you could probably draw Bigfoot.
That's what I was just saying. Maybe I should Sharpie one in here somewhere, like hiding.
Because I can definitely say, since I have met you, your drawing skills have gotten so much better.
Oh, thank you. A lot of practice, but they're getting there.
Yeah, because I remember when the very first one you sent me, you could barely draw a stick figure.
I know. I'm trying to explain something to you, and I'm like, it looks like this. And I was like,
Yeah.
what is that even? So I worked on it. I'm getting better.
And then later on, it's almost like you were doing like a police sketch of somebody.
Yeah. So those are just spirit drawings. Those are spirit drawings. When a lot of times when I read, I get a really good visual on the person in spirit that I'm talking to. And sometimes I'm just really compelled to draw them or sketch them because it's so vivid and so clear. And so it's just a way for me to just kind of, I just put them on paper. I journal a lot. And so a lot of times drawing them, it just goes into my journal, instead of journaling about the reading or whatever. It's just, they're not supposed to look like police sketches because they're people's loved ones, right? That I've communicated with. But thank you. I'm going to take that because they are getting better and people are very hard to draw. They're extremely hard to draw.
Yeah, they can be, and I'm left-handed, so left-handers have a hard time trying to draw as it is. Because when we're going towards the right, we're smudging everything with the palm of our hands.
Right across the paper.
Yeah. So that's why so many times I wish I was a righty so I wouldn't have to worry about that problem.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being a problem. But I smudge mine and smear mine anyway. That's just part of my technique. I don't know. I always have a rag and I'm always smearing and blending in the lines.
Yeah. And you know what? Robin's got a point there. We are the only ones in our right mind, so she does have a point there. But it's how we use that too.
That's right. That's right.
So with those drawings, have you ever thought about maybe putting them on display or something like that?
I thought about it. In fact, I have so many that at one point I was gonna just like put them up behind me. So like I thought, well, maybe my viewers might see people they recognize, but it was just really super busy. So um no, that didn't happen. But I do have a couple in frames around my office. Some readings hit different. Let's put it that way. They're all spectacular and they're all beautiful, and I love the connections that I make with all of the spirit people. But let me just tell you that some of them are just so profound that they really stand out in my mind, and I'll sketch that person, and I'll put them around my office. I have a folder about this thick, but it's not only people. I also sketch places because, as you know, I can remote view. So a lot
Hmm.
of times, I see a place or inside somebody's home or whatever it is, and I'll sketch those out as well. Yeah, right, Jeremy? I saw into your so
Yeah, I remember it was one of those early times where you was trying to sketch something inside my house. I'm like,
right, and it was the worst.
"Oh,
But you're like, well, I don't know if that's my house.
yeah,
Um, you know
Robert.
what, Rob? I have a notebook here. I could show you some. Yeah, it'll take me just a minute, and I'll have to just click off for a second. Um, and I'll grab it, and I'll show you some of those. So give me just 1 second.
Alrighty. So meanwhile, yeah, it's going to be an exciting show this week, and plus the guest that I have for next week, Sandy Boyd. She runs the Old Lake County Jail in Crown Point, Indiana. This is the jail that is most famous for John Dillinger escaping before he was ultimately caught and killed. And this is also the jail where they filmed part of Public Enemy with Johnny Depp in it. So she's supposed to be my guest for next week. Yeah, we're going to have a little show and tell session.
That'll be cool. So I don't even know really what's in this notebook, you guys. Like, I mean, it is just pages and pages, but I'll show you a couple of them. So this is a case that happened a couple of years ago, and I still wasn't very good at drawing people, but this image came to me of being somebody that had knowledge of something, right? And so I sketched him.
Yeah, let me put you on full screen.
Actually, it looks like I sketched this last year, September 21st. Seems like it's been longer than that. So anyways, I sketched him and I just made the notes. Somebody having knowledge of this particular crime. And I wasn't working the case. I was just really interested in it. So I kind of followed it. And this person, I did actually find out who this was by following the case, and I continued to follow it. And I did find out that this person did indeed have knowledge of that case and was very instrumental in helping to bring closure to that. So that's a cool one. Let's see what else I have in here. That's one my dad drew. My dad likes to send me drawings as well. He's a nut. That's where I get my crazy from, Jeremy.
Okay, so we have him to thank.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think this is a folder with all of my pictures. It does have some. This is another one when I was first learning. Like, it's only, I don't know, the light's kind of interesting on that one. That's a person in spirit that I connected with.
That actually looks like a character from a movie I've watched a few times.
Here's another one that I drew. This obviously is a person that I'm connected to, but this, I'll tell you guys a crazy story about this. This is the image of when I was probably, I don't even know, maybe seven-ish. I would see her and she would stand at the bottom of my bed. I would wake up in the night, I would see her. She would stand at the bottom of my bed. And I remember trying to explain it to my mom. And I was so young, I didn't know I didn't understand, right? And so I kept calling her the tooth fairy. And I couldn't understand why she kept coming because I didn't have teeth, to give her. But So that's what I called her for years and years until I realized that, I just kept seeing the image of her. And so I drew her, and she wears blue. She wears very, very light blue. And she's just very peaceful and calm and beautiful. Um, Here's one for you, Jeremy. This isn't even a person. This is just the the craziness.
Oh man, two people hanging on for dear life on that thing.
Yeah, so that's just, some of the stuff that goes through my head, through my mind that I draw. This one I drew at 21 too. So this is, I actually think this might have been, Jeremy, a place in, do you remember seeing this one? I can't remember if this was a place in the temple or not when I was remote.
That drawing that looks familiar because I remember something about tiled floors.
Yeah, I think that we went over that one before, and I would have to get all of my notes to remember where that was, but that was a remote viewing drawing. And you know what, Jeremy, if I look through all this stuff long enough, I probably have the one, I know I do, that I drew for you in the beginning. That was so funny that we laughed at. But I actually grabbed the wrong notebook. This just has a lot of scribbles, a few pictures. But one day I will display them. I will find, I'll get them all together and yes, I did. Adrian, I wish I knew where that was. So I drew some persons of interest for Adrian as well. They weren't necessarily, I don't like to say persons of interest or suspects, but the way that I like to put it is somebody that has knowledge of, right? This is somebody that has knowledge of in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, I did draw. I think I drew two. Did I draw two for your Adrian or one? I can't remember. But that came just right to me as soon as we were talking. I said, give me a second. I got to sketch something. And I sketched it out for her, and she knew immediately, who this picture was and the knowledge that they may have. So that's always really cool when you can get that validation like that. Okay, yeah, it was two of them.
Yeah.
Probably over there somewhere, but yeah, so I've been working on that. My artistic skills, they are coming along. I'm happy with that.
Are you to the point where somebody can describe someone to you and you can draw their face?
I can, because usually what happens is even if somebody's describing something to me, I get this visual image of it right away.
Yeah.
And so as long as I can hold that visual image long enough, and you guys will always see me, you always see me with a pen, right? And a notepad. And let me give you an example of something that will make you laugh. But if I have a visual image of somebody in my mind, it really might just look, oh, my pens are all dead. That's weird. I really just might make a few lines just like this. And that will hold the image in my head because I know what they are and I know where they go. And so when I'm doing a reading, if I have that very clear picture, I will just do, some little, it's artistic shorthand, maybe it's medium shorthand. I don't know, but I have notebooks full of stuff like that.
Just those lines alone is making me think of the statues on Easter Island.
Right? See, it triggers something. So if you already have the image in your mind and I just draw a couple of things like that, I can go back to it and I can immediately see that image of that person again. So then I'll sit down and I'll draw them. I don't know who is saying there's Facebook user that I do great work. So thank you. Those are some old ones. I really wish I could find my new ones.
That would be Debbie Hodgen.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah. Hi, Joshua. Yeah, so that's been fun. And that's something that I want to do. That's something I want to incorporate into my readings when I get a little bit quicker at it, is I want to, and I actually have done this for some people, but it's taken me a while to get it done and get it to them. But is to draw a portrait of who I see, of their loved one, and then they can have that. So that's something that I want to keep working at until I can get, really good and really quick at that. That's something I'd love to do for people.
Okay. I just got a couple of pictures from Adrian. I think she wants me to bring them up here.
Oh, they're okay. Those are the ones I drew for her.
Yeah, let me.
Thank you, Adrian. They're around here somewhere. You guys knew all the papers I had everywhere. You would understand.
Okay. Here's the first one.
Yeah, he kind of looks like an alien to me, but you know what's so strange is Adrian knew immediately. And that was just done really quick.
Now, is that supposed to be her stepson or the guy
No.
who killed her stepson?
No, this is a person. The way that I gave it to her was this is a person that has some knowledge of something. So this is a person that has some knowledge of what happened.
All right. And the next one, which looks like is more detailed.
He had curly hair, if I can remember right.
Yes. I'm trying to bring that up. Here we go.
No, there's a different one too.
Oh, there's another one.
See, that's when I get going super, super fast. And I'm like, it just looks like this. This will have to work.
Well, those are the only two that she sent me.
I wonder, I can't remember who I did one with curly hair. I don't know who he was for, but yeah. So that I just whipped out really quick because it was just so vivid. That's painful for me to look at because I think it's terrible, but thank you, Adrian. I was happy that you knew who it was. So that's all that matters, right?
He looks like he's mad about something.
Yeah.
The person in that drawing.
Yeah.
So Adrian, if you got that third picture, feel free to send that to me. Oh, there's Rosie Page saying hey.
Hi, Rosie. I haven't seen you in a while. Hello.
She has been awfully busy lately, dealing with a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
It happens. Thank you, Rosie.
It does, and unfortunately, it puts all this stuff that we do. A lot of us end up losing contact.
Yeah.
And like in the case of you and I, we went how many months before we were able to say hi to each other?
8?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a while. But that's okay, right? Because this is what I feel. You guys, I really feel this, that the really good friendships and solid connections don't go away because we get busy, right? We understand that. Like I see all the things that you're doing, Jeremy, all the crap that you've been through the last year. I understand that. I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm doing different things too. So I really do feel like those connections, those really solid connections, they don't go away. They're there. We understand.
Unfortunately, some people don't understand that. Even though you may not talk to each other for a while,
Right.
does not mean we're not going to talk tomorrow and it's going to be like we never had any time go by without talking.
Yeah.
So the drawings that you do now, have you ever thought about maybe working for the police as the sketch artist?
Not at this point because I don't feel that I'm good enough to do that.
Yeah.
And that I know that that's just like a me thing. Like I'm such a weirdo perfectionist that I want it to feel 100% just right. I'm just not quite there yet. I don't feel like, honestly, I'm not quick enough yet. So those 2 drawings I did for Adrian were very quick. But some of these, it takes me a while, because I have to really I'm not an artistic person. So I really have to think about it, probably overthink it as I'm doing it. So when it comes to faces and people, no, I'm not ready to do that yet. I would love to do that, but I'm not ready to do that yet. However, buildings and spaces, I'm getting a lot.
Differ.
Thank you, Adrian.
I will say this, somebody with your kind of gift and the work that you are doing, especially with the drawings, it seemed like it would be a perfect fit for you to do that. because not only would you be going off of what they're trying to describe, you may automatically be seeing it in your head who these people are.
Yeah. Right. And that's a possibility, but here's the thing. Does that interfere with the investigation if I'm drawing what I'm seeing instead of what they're telling me? Right. So that's also kind of a thing for me. If they're telling me one thing and I'm seeing it another way, look, I'm not 100% right all the time. Like, I'm just not. I don't think there is a medium or a psychic that is. And so I think that I would feel obligated to draw too in that situation, right? I would draw exactly as they were describing, and then I might come over on the other side and make a few little edits or changes as to what I was feeling. I think that would really be the only way you could do that.
So it would almost be sort of like a conflict of interest, wouldn't it?
Maybe not necessarily a conflict of interest, but I do think that it would take, thank you, Adrian. I just don't know that I'm quite ready to do that yet.
Only time will tell.
Yes. Time and practice. I'll keep practicing. I'll keep drawing. I'll keep drawing the people that come, and we'll see. I don't know where the lady is I just drew the other day, because she should be right on my desk, but she's not.
Okay. Any news from Skinwalker Ranch? Because I know you live not too far from there.
I do live not too far from there. So just basic news is activity seems to be picking up, just from what I hear, around and kind of following it. Of course, that's a place that's extremely hard to get into. I did miss an opportunity to get into there last fall. And oh my gosh, I was just so sad. They did reach out to me to come out, and they wanted to talk to me and they wanted to do some stuff. However, it went like this: can you come tomorrow? And I couldn't. I had an obligation that I could not break. I just couldn't. And so I couldn't do it. And that was the day that they were filming. That was the day that they were going to be doing what they were doing. So I was not able to do that. I was a little bit heartbroken about it, but I also feel like there's a reason for that, right? When the time is right and the opportunity is right, then they'll both come together. So,
right. If only they had been able to give you more notice.
No, I promise. It was like I got at 9:00 at night. It was like the message. They wanted me there at 7 a.m. I mean, it was that fast and that crazy. And I was so like, oh my God, no way. No way do I have this opportunity and I can't go. Like, I just had that obligation that I could not break. And, so sometimes we just have
next week.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did miss that, but, I do follow the page, of course. I do think that they have another season coming out soon, but I have a really cool picture from there. I actually showed that to you at one time, Jeremy. You remember that?
I would have to go way back. You should have
to go way back, because it was like 2 years ago when I went there. Excuse me. But I didn't get into the ranch, of course, right? I just went to the gate. And it was before they had all of these big warning systems telling you to back away. So I did spend some time at the gate, and I have a very, very interesting picture from there. You'll remember it when I send it to you.
Yeah, you would probably have to send it to me, because I'm pretty sure if I were to go back into our chat and look at the files, it'd probably
take forever. Yeah, and it's been so long ago, I don't even have it like handy to show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, very interesting place. What I felt when I was there, and of course I wasn't all the way into the ranch again, but I didn't feel scared. I felt a little bit watched. I felt a little bit eerie, but I also felt that it was a very, very sacred place. I mean, I almost felt like, I am not worthy. Like, I just felt like the land was very sacred and very protected. So that's what I came away from, just the time that I spent, by the gate. Of course, it was really dark, and so that adds to the
that does add to that. This particular piece of land, would that have belonged to an Indian tribe?
Yeah, absolutely. That is part of the Ute reservation. That's actually part of the reservation.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. I don't know exactly, Jeremy, how that goes. That was at one point part of the reservation, but it's privately owned now. But it is all around there, right? It's a big chunk of that. So yeah, absolutely, that whole area, the whole area that I live in is reservation area.
That I remember out towards the west. I don't know where at, but out towards the west, they had the Apache, the Anasazi, if I'm even pronouncing that right.
Anasazi.
I think so. It's like one of the more ancient Indian tribes.
Yeah, that would be. I think that's Anasazi.
Yeah. I think Cherokee was out there somewhere around there too, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
You know what? I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not. I need to do a little bit more studying on my own area because people ask me questions and I don't know. And I've lived here for so long, you'd think that I would know, but I don't. I just don't know all of those things.
It doesn't happen that way. Just because you've lived there for 30 years, that doesn't mean you know.
You're so sweet for saying 30 years. You were just so sweet.
Well, because
It's been much longer than that, but I'll take the 30.
I've lived here in the Fort Wayne area for 30 years myself. I don't know everything about this town.
Yeah, and about the area.
When this town was founded. I know some of the more infamous stuff that's happened out here, but something that I've been hearing about lately that I'm told is not too far from Skinwalker Ranch, which, as funny a names as it sounds, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I keep hearing something called the Blind Frog Ranch.
Okay, so I can tell you about the Blind Frog Ranch. I've been to the Blind Frog Ranch.
Okay.
Dwayne, who is the owner of the Blind Frog Ranch, actually took me on a tour, just him and I. And so I got to spend a lot of time learning about that ranch. I can tell you some about that. That was actually an amazing trip. We got in the side-by-side and he just took me around. He didn't say a lot. He just, like, the idea was for me just to kind of feel, right? Just kind of feel the energy. And so it was super interesting because I was able to pick up when I was there on a lot of places and a lot of things. And I would say, let's stop here. Let's look here. Like, what's happening here? This is what I see. This is what I feel. And then he would just look at me with this grin and he's like, this is what happened here. And so we went through the whole property that way. And it really is amazing. I swam in the pond. They have that water there, right? So I swam in that pond, and I will tell you something about that water. They hadn't tested it yet, right? So
Is this the one where you took a swim?
You saw the pictures. I swam in there. I just went right in that water, in that cave.
Yeah, you weren't expecting it until maybe 5 seconds when the guy is like, "You want to go for a swim?"
I know. I wasn't ready. I wasn't anything. I'm like, let's do this. Like, I'm here.
Remember that.
Water. And I got in, all my clothes on, whole thing, and floated around that water. But the interesting thing about that was I had, for probably 2 or 3 days after that, this crazy energy that I can't explain. It was almost so much that it was like anxiety provoking energy.
Really?
Yeah, went for like 3 days and then I crashed. And I don't know if that's from swimming in the water. I'm not sure if that's from being at that place, but I will tell you something about that ranch. It draws me back. It is so beautiful and so, it really does just have this beautiful, beautiful energy. And so it draws me back. Unfortunately, it's covered in snow right now, so I couldn't even get up there if I wanted to. But yes, that is there as well. So I have a bunch of signed pictures actually here from Dwayne that kind of tell his story. he has a very interesting story. It's not
Okay.
mine to tell, so I'm not going to tell it, but like you can Google it, you can find him. And I will tell you that I did a reading for him, which was absolutely mind blowing. Yeah, so that's interesting, an interesting place here as well. I think they've got some big things coming up too.
Awesome. Because it's just only, I think you were the first one who mentioned that place to me.
Mhm.
Then I heard it again from Adrian. But I
I keep
don't know
telling
anybody else who really knows anything about the place.
I keep telling Adrian and Zach, like, to come out here. We're not that far away, and we'll go up there. Like, just come out. Let's go check it out.
I wonder what they're doing in the first part of June.
The ranch?
No,
Or
Adrian and Zach.
and Zach, I don't know.
Because I will be driving through on 80 in the first week of June.
Nice.
Because I'll be on my way to Reno and back.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Adrian says she's on her way when you are. Yeah, I would love it. I would love for you guys. I know you come through here, well, close by here every year, Jeremy. And Adrian's not that far away now. I would love to have you guys come here because I'd love to show you this area, not just the Blind Frog Ranch or where Skinwalker is, but we really do have some amazing, amazing areas that carry a lot of energy to them, a lot. And
Hey.
it's beautiful if I do say so myself. I like it.
Well, not like you're biased or anything. You only live there.
Right.
I do know that when I come to town, I want to visit your Wendy's.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to do that.
For anybody who may not understand what I'm talking about, if you remember a couple of years ago, we had a video of a Wendy's sign saying "Thank you, 13th Dimension." Well, that video was taken none other than Jennifer, and that was the Wendy's in her town.
I always support my friends. The best I can.
And Adrian, I just told you why I want to go to that Wendy's.
She says no.
Because she had talked to somebody out there at that Wendy's, I think the manager, and they checked out our show, saw how much we were promoting them and all, and they thanked us on their sign.
She says no.
Okay. But that was, for me personally, that was one of the coolest things anybody had ever done for me.
Aw.
And I know Scott felt the same way, Tim felt the same way, Crystal felt the same way.
Yeah, I was so excited when I went up there and I saw it, and I did, and you guys know this, we talked about that. But yeah, when I went up there and I don't even remember what it said now, like thank you 13th Dimension or something.
Yeah.
I was just excited to take the picture and send it to you guys.
I still have the video on my computer.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Where? Okay, well, it's not the video, but I got the picture of it.
There it is. Ta-da!
Yeah. That there is courtesy of Jennifer. If it wasn't Jennifer, that would not have happened.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun, and that was so unexpected. And at first you wouldn't tell me.
I told you I had a surprise for you. That's all I had.
Yeah. That's a surprise for me, but you didn't tell me that you were the one that talked to them about it, or that it was even the Wendy's in your town, although it should have been obvious. But I thought that was cool as hell, and we could not thank you enough for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I thought you would enjoy it. I thought it would be a fun surprise.
We did. We
Good.
did. It was so heartwarming, really. Um, Now there is something I do want to ask you about.
Okay.
Um, you hadn't done this for a while, and then every now and then you do this.
Uh-oh. What is it?
The readings that you do with yourself and Michael.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You guys have such an undeniable chemistry when you guys are on video together, and you have a big following. And
Okay.
it is so good to see you guys doing video, and then you had to stop for a while because I know that Michael
Right.
uh, with his job and all of that, and then he ended up going back, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
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 so he's working full time again. So, with the rotating schedule and stuff, it just makes it hard to do every single time. Another thing, I'll be honest with you, that makes it really tough is having the same audience every week.
yeah.
Um, simply because like when we're reading, the more energy that we have come in and the more different energy, it just creates this ideal, especially for this platform, this ideal reading experience. So it does get difficult to do regularly if you have the same audience. Not that we don't love our audience, because we do, and we're so happy every time we see the same people, but we have to keep trying to grow that too, so that we're just keeping that energy moving, so it doesn't just become stagnant. Like, let's say if we had 20 viewers and they were the very same 20 viewers every week, like we'd be struggling in a while
Oh, I know.
we'd be reaching way back into those ancestral lines to be getting some readings. So now we just kind of do them spur of the moment. I asked him if he wanted to do one today, but he said he wanted to eat pizza, so that didn't happen today. He's like, nah, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm like, cool, whatever. We'll get it done. So we do try to do a couple of those a month. And I love reading with him because it is a lot of fun. We're able to, pick up on the same energy. And so he's very, very strong in some areas. I'm very strong in other areas. And it just pulls together to make a really good reading. And I love doing it. I was surprised last week. I was watching another medium. I was just watching him live. And he said, hey, Jen, get on here. And I was like, what? He said, come on, let's go. And I wasn't prepared at all, right? I just wasn't prepared, but it was such a challenge to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. And it was a completely new person that I'd never read with before. We had tons of difficulties as far as I did, as far as I had to use my phone, right? And my phone, I don't know how to use my phone to do a live. My battery was extremely low. I couldn't see comments. So I was
That's the difficult thing right there.
absolutely, completely blind. Like, I had no comments, didn't know like anything. And sometimes just seeing somebody's name, even if I don't know them, it just is kind of a quick connect into their energy. I didn't know how many were watching. Like, I could see nothing. And it was also extremely dark because I was using my phone. And you could see, like, I think this much of my head and my phone. But
I saw a little bit of that video when you posted about it afterwards, and I go on there and look, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I'm used to with Jennifer. And then I read what you said up there, that it was extreme last minute. You weren't prepared for anything else.
I wasn't.
That makes sense.
I wasn't, and I didn't know how to use my phone. I was laughing because my phone kept falling over, and I'm like, it's okay. We got this. Let's just do this.
Yeah.
And, it's just like what I said on my post is Spirit came through. Spirit always comes through. right? And so we had some amazing readings together too. I love reading with other mediums, but I really enjoy reading with Michael just because we've been doing it a while, and we do have that, reading chemistry.
Yeah, you do.
So it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, we enjoy it every time you guys do come on, and at the same time, it's good that you're able to challenge yourself in different ways, especially when this other guy came in. Hey, let's do it.
Yeah, right. I was watching his live relaxing. I had my hair up in this like weird thing, and I'm like, really? And then I don't know what just said to me, do it, Jen, just do it. And I'm like, okay, here I come.
It's something different. Like what you were saying earlier, when things you're doing the same thing over and over and over, it becomes repetitive, it becomes stagnant. Now you're doing something even though it may be the same thing of what you're doing, you're now doing it in a different way.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing was he had a completely different following. I did share it into my group, but of people that have never seen me read, people I don't even know who they are. Literally, since I saw no comments, no clue who they were. So, yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely a challenge. Excuse me. And I was over the top about it when it was done, like minus all the difficulties. I was just like, wow, I just challenged myself to that, and I just did it. And it was fine. It was great. And I'm going to actually do some more lives with him. In fact, Michael and myself and Dennis have been talking about doing a live, the three of us. So that will be fun.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
But let me tell you this: whenever you guys decide to do a live sometime, if we have an open slot on the network, come on.
Okay.
Yeah. There's something I have been wanting to ask you. It would be a little funny, but I can imagine at the same time, if it actually does happen, he'd be like, "Oh shit." Let's say I'm going to pick on Joshua here.
Okay.
Let's say, okay, you're doing a reading for somebody. All I need is your name. My name is Josh. Okay, Joshua, I'm getting something. I'm getting this message. Now you start describing things to him.
Okay.
No, that's not me. And then another Josh comes in. No, this is me. Has something like that ever happened to you?
It does happen. It does happen. Because, well, I'll give you an example. I did a live the other day and this happened. I saw a lady's name and I went right to her name, and it was something about, I just kept seeing this broken ankle, right? This whole broken ankle situation. It wasn't actually her that knew about the broken ankle. This person coming through was for somebody else. So yeah. So what happens, especially when you're in a big group like this, is that energies can cross. They certainly can. And I always say it's like tuning into a radio station. To get to that station, you got to go through a little bit of static sometimes. Sometimes you're just not directly there, right? And so that can happen, and it can happen with names, just like you said. You can, because what you have to understand is that we have to make an energy connection to the person through a name, right? So certainly that doesn't always happen. Then what we have to do is we make the connection when in mediumship, and we're making a connection to a person in spirit. They speak through energy. And so it's literally translating energy to the spoken word, right? To a language that we understand. And so sometimes in that translation, I like to say spirit is never wrong. They never give me wrong information. I may translate it incorrectly at times. And I do. There are times that I do. But I always trust the information that spirit's giving me. It goes somewhere. If it's not Joshua Dixon and it's another Josh, it goes somewhere. And I generally end up figuring that out look, I've gotten to the point where if something doesn't fit anymore, I just shove it over to the side and I say, I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to go forward. And generally before the end of the reading, this part that I've put over to the side makes sense to myself and my sitter. We understand it when we get there. We know what it is. And if we don't, it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with it. I don't go and try and hunt down where it belongs to. It usually falls into place, and I know within sometimes minutes, sometimes days. I understand where it goes.
Because I remember seeing numerous times where you said, "Okay, I'm going to put this away and move forward." I do remember seeing that several times.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you have to do. So, especially when I do a private session, if that information, if my sitter has to sit there for very long, let's say that I ask them, I'm just trying to think of something. I can't even think of anything right now. Let's say I ask them about something like, would you understand a horse being in spirit? Right? Let's say that I ask them that, and they sit there and they're like, and they're trying. No, this doesn't fit. Right? No, I'm not going to make it fit. And if you have to think about it that hard, it doesn't fit. It's not. It's part of this static as we try to get where we want to go to make that connection. And so I will just put it off. So I have just learned that is the quickest way. What horse picture is that, Adrian?
Yeah. While she's answering that, when spirit communicates to you, do they? Hi, Clarissa. Do they communicate to you in a specific way every time, or do they change it up? Because I know sometimes people can hear actual verbal words, or sometimes they get pictures.
Yeah. So for me, it's a combination. Okay, just real quick. I do know what Adrian is talking about. I had done a reading for Adrian and we had talked about a horse and she didn't understand it. We had talked about a horse picture, but then they found it like a year later. It was in the box, and I believe I'd even described like the box or the tin or whatever. Sorry, Adrian, that reading was a while ago, and there's so many that I forget. But then, yes, that picture did pop up. It took a year, but I remember now her sending me the picture and going, "Oh my God, it was in that tin." So that's why I let them slide. That's why we are not going to spend a lot of time on it. Eventually, we're going to understand why that information came through. And Adrian did understand why that information came through. So spirit communicates to me a couple of different ways. Sometimes it's audibly hearing, but most of the time when I'm reading and I say I hear, it's a knowing. Like, it's not like the voice is in my room and everybody else can hear it, right? It's the voices in my head. And I know that. I know what you're going to say about that, Jeremy. But the knowing of the voice.
I'm writing what I'm hearing.
Right? The knowing of the voice is in my head. I can tell you what it sounds like. I can tell you what it's saying. So there's that. And a lot of times there are images. So I see, and lately, like the clairs, they kind of change their strengths. In some readings, some are stronger than others, but images, I see images a lot. And the image itself tells a story, right? The image comes in. So Joshua understands this, right? So the image comes in and there's a knowing of what the image is telling me. It just, there's just a knowing. So there's that. And also I smell things a lot. I can smell certain fragrances. I can smell different things. That tells a story as well. And sometimes it'll all, just come in at once. But a lot of it is just, for me, it's a lot of images, and it's just a lot of the knowing that comes with the image. Now, generally, I always see my spirit person though. I do. I always see them. I could describe them. And then they start, giving me images. But it also goes back to a lot of intention. I always set my intentions before I do a live or I do a reading. And when I do lives, I experiment. Okay. I'm not even kidding. I experiment. So I'll sit down.
For you, does not surprise me.
I will say to my spirit guides, like today, I ask them, please help me connect to the memories on my feed. Please help me connect to their energy. Please help me connect to their loved ones. And what I'd really like to do today is I'd love if you could give me numbers, a number. So one live, you might see me throwing out numbers because I've asked for it and I've gotten it. Another one, I might say, please give me very, very clear memories. And so I do experiment in my lives, and I shouldn't say experiment. I practice, right? I practice different ways. And so Clarissa, she's saying she understands that.
Yeah.
So, and then there's automatic writing.
Same things that you do.
Yeah. So there's automatic writing. A lot of times I have a notepad. Let me find a page for you. You'll giggle about this. I keep a notepad with me every time I do a reading or a live. And this is what it ends up looking like. Okay. It's just a bunch of scribbles, you guys. It's just scribbles.
Let me put you.
What
again?
Okay. So, sometimes it even looks as ridiculous as this. Okay. So that, tons of them. So that is
that one page. It looked like you were drawing sound waves.
Okay, very good, because I'll tell you what I'm doing there. With this pen, a lot of times I'm actually doodling the energy as I feel it. Okay, that's the way that energy feels to me, and that doodle, that line is telling me a story. As crazy as it is, it's like I was telling you about the picture. I can read this, right? I can read this. I can tell you what this means. This is the energy that I'm feeling and the way that I'm feeling it. And so it's a way for me I had a really crazy one here the other day that I was giggling about, and I should throw some of these away, but the day that I die, someone's going to
don't throw anything away.
Huh?
Don't throw anything away.
The day that I die, though, someone's going to go through my stuff and be like, this woman was legit crazy.
Well, think of it this way. Let's say somewhere down the line you want to write a book.
Right.
And you would like to use some of your more weirder things for this book because that would really make it stand out.
Yeah.
If you throw that away.
I know, but it's so funny because, just notepads of scribbles, and they seem, seemingly nonsense if somebody were to look at it. But, and even to me at this moment, if I were to look at this, right, all of these scribbles right here, right now, I couldn't tell you what they meant. But in that moment, I can tell you.
Looking at that right now, if somebody, let's say 100 years from now, were to look onto your writings, to me, it would not be that dissimilar from people hundreds of years ago looking at the writings inside the pyramids.
Right? Or the petroglyph writing.
Yeah. So, okay, I look at it, I don't understand what any of this means, but there's something there.
Yeah. So that's how, so that's what I do. And usually I do it when I'm on lives a lot because there's a lot of energy coming, right? And so it's almost a place for me to put that energy. So it's not just all sitting with me. You'll see me, doing whatever here. Usually nonsense, sometimes not nonsense. Maybe I'll write something that has, that I'm going to use for my reading. But most of it is really me translating that energy. It's going on the paper, right? And as it's going on the paper, I'm knowing what it's telling me.
Okay.
So that's one process. And automatic writing, of course, we know about, which is just sitting down and writing what spirit is telling us, which is also a beautiful, wonderful way.
Okay, so 2 questions that I want to ask you about spirit.
Okay.
First one, is it always the same spirit that you go through when you do your readings and your automatic writings and your visuals? And if not, or if you do get connected to other spirits on occasion, especially if it's they're speaking to you and you're audibly hearing them speaking to you, are they always speaking the same language to you? Like let's say an Indian spirit contacts you and they are trying to speak to you in their native tongue.
Okay. So here's the thing. Energy has no language. Okay. No language barriers. And they are speaking in energy. So regardless of what they are, what language they're speaking in, I'm going to grab onto the energy is what I'm going to grab onto. That's what I'm going to translate into the language that we understand. So yes, I have had spirits sign to me, having no idea. Like, I don't know how to sign. Yeah, Joshua, exactly.
Sign language?
So I have had spirits sign to me, and I'll never forget that reading because I started signing. I just started and saying the things as I did it. I don't know how to sign. So, but that's just the translation of the energy. I've had them speak other languages. However, as I translate that, as that energy comes to me, it's always going to translate into something that I understand and that my sitter understands.
Wow.
So yeah, look, so spirit has no boundary, no barriers, right? There's no language barriers, there's no time barriers, there's no space barriers. So think about what you were talking about earlier when Michael and I read together and we can both grab onto the same connection. We're both connected to the same person in spirit. I'm here, he's in North Dakota. Okay. And our sitter might be in New York, but spirit is connecting to all of us in that moment.
I have always thought that you could be able to connect to the same spirit or speak to the same spirit from different locations. In fact, I have been wanting to do some experiments on that. So,
Speaking to the same spirit, from different locations. Yeah, absolutely you can.
like for example, let's say you want to try to talk to somebody who was in prison, and also try to communicate to them wherever they're buried at the same time.
But you would still be, so somebody where they're buried and then somebody at the prison is what you're saying?
Yeah, so
Sure, absolutely.
it's similar to what you and Michael do because you're both connected to the same spirit. It's about the same as when you're trying to connect to somebody at the jail and also connect to them at wherever they're buried.
But you're still connecting to the same
spirit.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely that can be done. I mean, that's how we do it. Like when I read with Michael, that's how we do it. When I read with Dennis, we were picking up the same connections and getting information from the same people in spirit. He's in Australia. Dennis is in Australia. I'm here in Utah. And we were connecting to the same, to the same people in spirit. So yeah, 100%. He's clear across the country. Not even across this country, across the world.
Yeah.
And we were able to do it.
And another thing that I have thought about, and I brought this up to a friend of mine in New York over the summer, and it's curious that you would bring it up, that you talked about time barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that in a way as on the other side, they don't live in the same type of time linear that we do?
Humans made up time. Time exists for nobody else. Like literally, yes, that's what I'm saying in a way. There is no time is a human concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the spirit world does not live in our, in our 24-hour day or in our 365-day-a-year. They just don't. That's a human concept that's designed for humans.
So would it be fair to say that spirit is basically in some what you consider all time?
All time.
So so let me use this as an example, and this is just me reaching out.
Okay.
Let's say I'm able to connect to somebody, a spirit whose human body hasn't even been born yet.
Okay.
Is it still possible to be able to connect to that spirit?
Sure, because that spirit's had a life before.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Um,
It's
a,
interesting.
a spirit is a spirit. So here's a good example. Unborn children, they can come through. Children that were lost through miscarriage, they can come through. I've connected to several of those. So no, they didn't have a physical body in this life, right? Outside of the womb. But they can still come through. Spirit can still come through. So yeah, there are no time barriers.
I cannot imagine the kind of a emotional impact that it would have on you or any other mediums or psychics connecting to a child spirit or an unborn child spirit.
Um, I will give you an example of that. I will give you an example of the very first time that happened to me, and it was very, very personal to me. Um, and honestly, it was before I knew that I could do this a little bit. I didn't really understand a lot of it. I was just really starting to kind of feel it out and to learn about it. And my son and his wife, they she they had to make a horrible decision. I'm just going to put it this way, okay? The baby they were carrying, she was not going to survive if they carried the baby to term. And so they had to make a decision to terminate the pregnancy to save her life. And it was horrible. It was terrible. What ended up happening was that the baby actually miscarried before the appointment date, right? And
Okay.
I know with everything in me, because this baby has told me that's to spare the parents, that was to spare the parents from that decision. But back to my story about that was, so we went through this horrible, terrible thing, and my daughter-in-law almost lost her life during the process. It was bad. And I was sitting at their house while they were both she was actually in intensive care, in the intensive care unit. And I had left them alone for a while, and I had gone to their home. And I sat down with a pen and a piece of paper. I wanted to write. Oh God, this is going to make me tear up, because it's incredibly so touching. I wanted to write a letter to my children. I wanted to write a letter to my son, and I wanted to write a letter to my daughter-in-law. Okay, from me. And I sat down and I started writing. And what came out was, Dear Dad. That was my very first experience with automatic writing. And I just started writing. And then what came out was, Dear Mom. And I just started writing. And when I was done, I was like, what just happened? Like, how did that? And I read through the letters, and I thought, oh my God, I'm a crazy woman. I can't give this to them. Like, I didn't even know what automatic writing was at the time. But you know what? I folded the letters up and I sealed them in an envelope, and I told them, like, when you're ready, I want you to, these are for you. I don't care if it's now. I don't care if it's in 20 years. Just know that I'll have these letters here for you. Right. So that was my very, very first experience with automatic writing, and with the soul of an unborn baby coming through. It was very personal. And it was so beautiful. Like, the stuff that I wrote on that paper, I can't even say that I wrote. The stuff that my granddaughter Beth wrote on that paper through me, absolutely amazing, beautiful. Not words that I could have written, not words that I would have, I sat there like, God, what do I write to my kids? Right? what do I write to my son? And then my pen just started going, Dear Dad. And I just went. So that was my first experience with actual automatic writing and knowing that those souls do come through.
I cannot even imagine, especially in that particular situation. I can't even imagine how
Yeah.
that would feel.
It was very interesting. And in fact, I came across the pictures of the letters. Oh, thank you, Marcy. I came across some pictures of the letters not very long ago, and I was like, oh man, yeah. Wow. And I read them again, and it was just like, wow. So yeah, that was my first experience. But yes, they can. And sometimes they are sad. But sometimes they're not. Like, here's the thing about reading and being able to speak with people's loved ones on the other side, is that it's not all sad. There is so much beauty and laughter. Like, I mean, that's the main thing I think that the spirit world really wants us to know when they come to us. Like, look, I'm here. I love you. And I've had spirits do the craziest, funniest things. They tell jokes. They want that laugh, right? They're just there to remind you about that. So I always have tissues ready when I do a reading, but there's a lot of laughing as well because it's healing.
Well, I know anything involving you, there's going to be a lot of laughing. Clarissa has a question here for you.
Yes, Clarissa, ask. Please ask. And while you're typing that up, I'll tell you one strange thing that did happen to me when I was doing a reading. And of course I have my pen, right? And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, my entire handwriting has changed. And I had written a phrase and my handwriting didn't even look like my handwriting. And I stopped and I turned it around and I showed it to my sitter and I was like, I just want to show you what I wrote here. And she goes, holy crap, that's my mother's handwriting. And she used to say that to me all the time. And so, like, that's just how it works. I just was writing like, what is happening? This is not my handwriting.
You wrote in someone else.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How is that even possible?
It's energy. It's all energy, right? It's just all that energy translation. You can write in their handwriting.
Okay, here's Clarissa's.
Okay. I just was talking about that, Clarissa. So yes, absolutely, 100%. It happens. And it's mind-blowing when it does, and it's super cool. So that is true automatic writing right there. When we catch ourselves writing like from somebody else, or left-handed, like you said, or in somebody else's handwriting in a different style, or something that you look at and you're like, you don't remember thinking it, right? It just is suddenly on the paper. So yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
So when something like this happened, would you say that momentarily you were possessed?
No.
Or would that be completely different?
No. So I don't feel like it's like possessed. It's not like the spirit comes in me and says, here, I want to write something. It's all energy translation again, right? It just is, I don't know really a better way to explain it. Okay. But I go when I'm reading almost trance-like. I've been actually studying trance mediumship. Now that's not something I've been studying it. I've been practicing it. It's not something that you want to bring into, a lot of places. It's kind of more just for me. Mm-hmm. However, when I do get reading, I do kind of get into a trance. I use my hands a lot. I speak really fast. I don't make a lot of eye contact. I just kind of start going. And so all of the impressions that are coming in, all of this energy that is coming in, that's just another way of them expressing themselves, is through me writing.
Okay.
It's the same way, Jeremy, that I can at some time, and I'm sure Clarissa and Joshua can do this as well. Sometimes you'll be doing a reading and you'll find yourself talking with an accent, or you'll find yourself like saying a phrase that you would never say before. I mean, I'm telling you, I got on a reading one time. Actually, he had come to my home. This gentleman did. He had come to my home, and I wanted to call him an asshole so bad. It's like all I wanted to call him. And I just did. I said, blah, 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 and everything that came out of my mouth. And he was just laughing. He's like, I know exactly who that is. But no, that's not being possessed. It's just a different way of expressing the energy coming through in a language that we understand. And more importantly, that the sitter understands. It makes it very authentic, right?
Yeah.
If I were to come through and if I were to do a reading and here's this guy that cussed like a sailor, and I come through and he says, oh my, and I come out and I said, oh, he says it's just such a gosh darn good day. They're going to be like, you're full of shit. Right? If I come through the way he comes through, have a great effing day or whatever it is. The way I hear it is the way it's coming out. I mean, that's the only way to be authentic.
Number one specifically when you were doing a reading for a friend of mine a year and a half ago for an old teammate who died in a car wreck, and you were basically acting out her mannerism. It was like, something like that, or something about clapping with your hands, because it was something that she did that my friend recognized.
Okay. I barely remember that reading, Jeremy, and I'm sorry because I do so many. But yes, it's things like that.
Myself, I remember it was specific, and it involved her hands.
A specific mannerism. I find myself doing that a lot. I find myself speaking like them a lot. Also, I feel the physical symptoms. I feel things physically. So I was on a podcast the other day and I had to get off. I started to kind of choke, and I just muted myself and took my camera off, and I knew instantly that somebody in this home that we were talking about had choked. And so after I got a drink of water and I composed myself and I came back on, I was like, I'm sorry, but can you tell me if somebody in that home choked? And yes, indeed, it was a little boy that had, and that's how he had passed. And so I pick a lot of that up. Even just sitting with a group of people not reading, sometimes I start to feel the things.
So it can actually be a physical danger to the stuff that you do sometimes.
It depends. There's only one time that I actually felt that. And I will tell you that I'm pretty good at knowing when it's not mine. And if Clarissa or Joshua, if this happens to them, they will understand this, or anybody that reads, they'll understand this as well. When I get a pain or something, I automatically just have this knowing, this isn't mine, right? This isn't mine. And then it will pass. It's like, as soon as I acknowledge that, it kind of passes. But I will tell you one very, very scary thing that happened to me. Maybe a year and a half ago, I was driving down the road and I was not far from my house at all, not even a block. I was maybe half a block away. And I suddenly could not breathe. My chest got so extremely tight. And I was driving and I remember thinking, I'm having a heart attack. And this is where I die, on the bridge by my house. Bye-bye. This is bullshit. It was my thought process. And then I still wasn't breathing. I had to pull the car over. And I sat there with the conscious thought that I was having a heart attack, not being able to breathe. I couldn't catch my breath. And then everything went completely still, very, very still, and very, very peaceful. And in that moment, I knew I was dying on the bridge in my car, and I was pissed about it. I literally was pissed about it. So I thought, at least let me get home, right? Come on. And so I sat,
I'm not ready to go yet.
I sat there in that stillness and that quietness, and I still hadn't taken a breath. I literally couldn't breathe. And then all of a sudden, it was as if somebody had smacked me on the back. and I started doing that coughing, and I was catching my breath, and I thought that was definitely not mine. I was shaking, and I got home. So I walked into the house, right? I got to the house, and my friend looked at me and he said, "What in the hell is wrong with you?" I was completely white. I was clammy. I was sweating. And I looked right at him, and the exact words that came out of my mouth without even thinking about it, I said, "I just died for a minute on the bridge, but I'm okay." It was the craziest, craziest thing, you know? And he's like, "Well, maybe you need to go to the hospital." No, I'm fine. I know that wasn't mine. Like, I know that it wasn't. That was scary. And that's where, I had to start setting some boundaries. Like, okay, I get it. You had a heart attack, but you don't really have to squeeze me that hard. I'll figure it out. Like, it doesn't need to be that bad. That was
Were you able to figure out if maybe they were trying to get a message to you at that time?
Yeah, I actually knew. Because oddly enough, I was coming home from doing a reading at a client's home.
Okay.
I was coming home from that, right? So I still was kind of in the zone. I still, hadn't completely unplugged from that. And so I have to take some ownership for that, right? Because I kind of got in my car to go home, like still in the zone. And it hit me. And it was that was scary. That was very scary. But I knew, no, I don't need to go to the hospital. I know I'm fine. I know what this was.
All right. Facebook user, his name is David Wisner. He's a real good friend of Nick Milay's from Chicago. Faithful watcher of the network. Welcome, David.
So can you pop Joshua's comment up about almost having a car wreck?
Sure.
Wednesday. So on Wednesday, were you doing an investigation, Joshua? I was just curious if you were coming back from like an investigation or what you were doing there. So yeah, the physical things are always fun. That was the scariest that I've ever experienced. Most of them, I understand what's happening right when it's happening, and it's super quick, and it goes away. So, thank you, Joe.
At that moment, wow.
At that moment, it was terrifying, but I also joke about it, and I'll tell you why. All of these people, and I have had near-death experiences before, but this one, I do joke about it because I'm like, I got to change my ways. I didn't see any light. I didn't see anything. Like, it was complete, but it was this complete stillness, this beautiful, peaceful, because everyone's like, did you see the light? No, there was no light for me.
I've been asked that a couple times myself. No, I didn't see anything. I never lost consciousness. So
just that extreme stillness and quiet. That's what I felt. I mean, so quiet. You can't even imagine how quiet. Like, I can't even get there in my meditations quiet. It was crazy. And I know I had the radio on and all of the things, and I know that it probably wasn't as long as I feel like it was because I wasn't breathing. So, for me,
I do know that when certain things happen, time seems to move differently.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it was like minutes, and I'm sure that it wasn't because I physically wouldn't be alive, but it felt like forever.
Exactly, because I remember certain things that have happened in my life where it felt like I was watching everything in slow motion, but I know it wasn't the case.
Right. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and Joshua, Nick is doing well. He hasn't been doing his Wednesday night shows because he's been doing stuff in his basement, but I think he'll be coming back next Wednesday, and he's still doing all of his shows on Thursdays and Fridays.
Nice.
Yeah. I had another question that I wanted to ask him, and it completely slipped my mind. I can't even remember what it was.
That's okay.
Um,
You think about it. If anybody else has questions, like pop them up.
yeah, I do have one question that I want to ask you, but I want to ask you that privately.
Okay.
Yeah, based off of something that you asked me a couple years ago that I still find funny.
I don't know if I can. I probably don't even remember 2 years ago, Jeremy, what I asked you.
What the hell? I'll just go ahead and ask anyway.
Okay.
Did you ever find out who was wearing the red boxers?
No, it was in your house, though. I do remember that.
It was in my house.
Remember that.
I don't have red boxes. I can tell you.
That was so funny, and I don't know if it was somebody like connected to you, but see, that's one of those things when it comes in that strong and that clear. If you can't connect with it, that's okay. But I just know that was that the same day that I drew your house, that I sent you the crafty sketch of your house.
You drew my house. This was when you wanted to when you needed to show me something that I think my mom was trying to get through to you, and it was a specific ornament that was on the bar in what used to be my garage.
That's right.
But it was sometime after that, folks. I'm not kidding. I just looked at my phone and I see a message come through from Jennifer.
Gosh, it happens.
It happened. Hey, I know this is a really weird question, but do you wear red boxers? Well, the stuff that's going through my head thinking, what?
I totally forgot about that. Just so you know, like I don't do that. To my good friends, I will. Like if something pops in, I will. But no, I never message people at random and say, ask them what color their boxers are. But I couldn't just I couldn't get past.
That's like the most insanely random question that anybody could ever get. But at the same time,
well,
it surprised me.
He's like, oh my God, stop invading my privacy.
Yeah. These are the fun moments that happen behind the scenes of what we these are the moments that last.
Oh my gosh. So Clarissa, she was asking how to get a reading. Go to my website, Jen at Jennifer Lee. No, that's my email. Sorry. You guys, is it so dumb? I don't even know my website. JenniferLeePsychic.com. I don't ever have to get on it, but it's JenniferLeePsychic.com. And also, if you hop on my Facebook group, which is Jennifer Lee Intuitive Medium, it's a private Facebook group. I do readings on there. I'll do lives and that kind of stuff on there. So there's a good chance of getting like a mini reading there. So that's how you go about that. And I'm trying to get the link for your website so that I can put it on here for people to click on. Is this on your public page, not your group page? I only have a group page.
I thought you had a public one as well.
I would love that. I used to, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't drive traffic for whatever reason to the public page. It just wasn't happening. They were all still coming into my group. And there's something about my group. I do keep it private for a reason, because I don't like spammers in there. I just try to keep the energy very like clean and clear. And, when we do our readings, I don't like being interrupted by the spammers or whatever. So, or haters or whatever. So I do my best just to keep the energy in there. Nice people that want to be in there, come in there.
Joshua, feel free to share everywhere.
Somebody says you have a bathing suit that looks like red boxers.
I don't have a bathing suit.
I don't know who's saying that because it says Facebook user for me, but they're saying you have a bathing suit that looks like red boxers.
It's David. I think he's making a joke.
I can't see.
I think he's joking.
You've got him. You just don't want to admit it. You've got him somewhere.
I can't even go swimming.
Oh.
Yeah. See,
No, Joe.
Swimming because of my ears, so I don't bother having any kind of swimming gear.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, that was one of the more interesting conversations that Jennifer and I have had. But like I said, when we do investigations or like when she does readings, yeah, she has fun with what she does. I have fun with what I do, but it's the stuff that happens behind the scene that really make the memories.
Speaking of investigations, I don't know if you guys have been doing any. I know Clarissa has been doing some, but I just don't know. Like I feel bad, but I'm added to so many group chats and so many things that I cannot keep up with all of them. I just can't. It's so time consuming.
Oh, I know.
But just know this, and Clarissa as well, Joshua, whatever. If you guys ever want a second set of eyes, we can do this virtually. Like we can do some remote viewing. I can walk through some buildings with you. Some residentials. I'm more than happy to do that. So if you get, just where you want a second set of eyes or a second set of feeling.
I was actually going to ask you about that this weekend because Clarissa and I did have a residential tomorrow, but that ended up getting put off for a couple of weeks. But I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, you're welcome. What's impossible, Joshua? He says it's impossible.
Joshua, this is the paranormal. You should know by now anything is possible.
Not impossible.
And that's one thing that I have learned too, and you're one of the reasons why I believe this, that anything that can possibly happen can happen, even if it does seem impossible, or anything that seems impossible to exist can exist.
Yes. Like we're so limited. We're very limited just by the scope of our experience, right? And so we try to fit everything into our experience. We haven't experienced. Oh, I'm not talking about just that one, Joshua, just anytime. So we try to fit these things that we don't understand into this box called our experiences, right? And they don't always fit. So when we're looking through things from the lens of just what we know, oh my God, there's so many other things. I mean, there just is. We have to be open. We have to be open to that, to those possibilities because it is there.
Yeah, and it can happen in the most unlikely of places.
Absolutely.
And one place that I found very interesting was that jail, that prison that you and I went to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When we first met. And that was where we had one of our funniest moments there at the end. Remember when that tour guide was taking our picture?
No, I don't. Remind me.
She was taking our picture, and that was when we pulled down our masks. And after she took the picture, she was looking at me, and I think you started grinning. Yeah. You started grinning because you knew what was coming, and
I do remember
complimenting me on my beard. And I thought you were going to fall on the floor. You were laughing so hard.
Yeah, she was in love with you. When she said that about your beard, I was like, really? We couldn't even get through 3 hours together without a woman wanting to touch your beard.
Well, I don't know if it was that. And I'm like, sorry, I live 4 states away.
Yeah, I do remember that. So that prison is really interesting. I went back there, was it last year with my sister? And I learned some more history about it. I think I told you that. About the
You,
ball team, the death row ball team. Yeah, it was super, super interesting.
yeah, I definitely do want to go back to that prison sometime.
Yeah, because the second time that I went, I got to see places that, I mean, I think I've been there 4 times now. But I got to see places that I didn't get to see before. And so it was amazing and hear different stories. And then I had to do some research on the Death Row All-Star team because it fascinated me. Just
Yeah.
fascinated me. Yeah. It really made me feel bad, hurt my feelings. Like it just made, because I'm such an empath, right? I'm here crying for the prisoners. But it's so just very, very eye-opening. Yeah.
What was interesting to me with that prison, that this is the first prison. I have been to a number of them by now, but this is the first one that I actually seen with a gas chamber.
Right? Yeah, that's kind of creepy too, huh?
It
Go
was.
in there and feel it. Yeah.
We stepping inside that prison. Oh, okay, I'm going to bring this one up here. This one is. Oh, now we can see David's name.
There
He
he
was
is.
up his Facebook user.
Right. Wow.
I
Hi, Chantel. Did you ever figure it out, David? Like, was it a physical, audible scream that other people could hear, or was it just you hearing it? Do you know that? It
and
was, Marcy. Yeah, and I know you hate that place because the first time I went there, the first time I posted about it in my group, I know you had some things to say about the town in general. But yes, we're talking about the Rollins prison.
yeah, I really do want to go back there sometime. And what was interesting also about, oh, from Australia. Howdy.
Wow.
What was interesting about that prison was that cemetery that was at the edge of the property that we went to.
Yes. Right.
Um, and not only was it snowing that day, but it was so windy.
Well, it's Wyoming. Of course it was. It's
Well,
always like,
true.
oh my gosh. And then like this just came to me. I wrecked getting there. Remember? Like I
Yes, you did.
no,
Call me. And I was,
I called
well,
Jeremy, right? I'm like, hey, I don't know how far you are behind me, but I'm in the bar ditch and it's really bad.
I think I was only 10 or 15 minutes behind you, and I saw that spot where you spun out. I
Oh, it's
remember
horrible. Right
that.
into the medium. And then I was spinning and I was just like, oh, this is gonna be so bad. Got the freeway on both sides. But what was cool about that was we were maybe still 30 minutes away from Rollins, right? And I made it all the way into Rollins after that with no problem. And as soon as we pulled into Rollins, I got the little triangle pop up in my car and say,
Yeah,
or my truck, and say that my tire was flat. And it did. Something had poked a hole in it. So we had to go on an adventure for a new tire as well.
yeah, we did. We went to like 2 or 3 different places.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. And folks, I was not leaving until she was ready to leave.
I know he didn't. He was so great. I know he had a long, long drive, and he stayed with me, helped me find a place to put a tire on. And I told him like, you can go ahead and go. He did not leave until my truck came out with the tire on it. So, yeah,
Yeah, because
Jeremy, I remember that.
yeah, because I remember a time when I was left stranded, and there was no way I was going to let anybody go through that, even though her tire was being fixed. I just wanted to make sure that she was in her truck and going before I left.
Actually, yeah, they couldn't fix it, and I had to buy a brand new tire. But I will tell you what's super funny about that. When I got home, I realized that I had a spare tire in my truck that was not like the donut tire. It was like the full size tire. So I could have just had him switch it out, but it doesn't matter.
I remember that. I can't believe I forgot all about that until you mentioned it.
I did too, till we got talking about that trip.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun. And I didn't get to see you this year when you came through, or last year, but hopefully this year. Hopefully this year we'll be able to catch
I was going down south. No, I think we tried to do something because I was stopping off at Adrian and Zach's. And I think we tried to arrange something for all of us to meet together, but for some reason we weren't able to. I think timing on your end wasn't allowing you to come
Okay,
down.
wait. I beg to differ. It went like this. Hi, Jen, I'll be there this weekend. Can you come? No. Like I needed more time. That's how that went down. I was like, damn it, no. I gotta have a little heads up.
Well, now you know exactly
And
when
that's
I'm.
what I think too. Jill's saying at the thrift store, you can pick up energy from items or spirits that's there because of it. And also all of the residual energy. It's also not necessarily a spirit energy that you might be feeling or picking up on, even the screen, right? It can be residual energy that these items in this thrift store are holding. Some thrift stores are really hard for me to go into because there's so much stuff in them, and they all hold energy, not a spirit connected to them per se. I'm not discounting that can happen, because that can happen. But for the most part, it is this residual energy, right? It's the imprint. It's looking at this item's history. Like you can almost replay it. It can replay. So that is probably what you're picking up on, would be my guess.
Joe, yeah, your comments are coming up.
Which reminds me, I got to show you guys something. I showed Jeremy earlier. Speaking of residual energy and energy, I was gifted something today and I'm totally in love with it. Jeremy, stop. So I'm going to, it's got something going on with it. It's got a story to tell. It does have some residual energy. I'm going to sit down with it, but I just got it today, but I want to show you. And it's so funny. Look at that. Oh.
And you guys want to know something that's even funnier?
I'm in love with it. It's like the convex, I think it's called, where it comes out so it distorts the images. And then look what Jeremy has.
Yeah, I have two of my own.
I think I'm going to use that mirror, Jill. I'm going to try to do some scrying with it, I think. So, yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool. So I'm really excited about it. It has a long story about where it came from originally. Nobody's really sure. There's a bunch of like writing and stuff on it here, so I can probably at least figure out.
Oh, I never even looked on the back of mine.
Yeah, there's some like engraving. I can probably figure out something, but like factual. But I just want to sit with it for a minute. I want to see where it's been.
There's nothing written on the back of mine, but I've had these for I don't know how long, and then all of a sudden she comes up with this. I've never known anybody else to have one of these things.
No, Joe. Actually, Dawn gave this to me. My friend Dawn gave this to me, and she got it a weird, strange way. It came off of eBay and a bunch of things some years ago, and it's just been sitting in her garage. So she ended up giving it to me today. She's like, I don't want this. It kind of creeps me out. So here you go. I was like, if it's creepy, I want it. But I don't think it's creepy at all. I actually really love it.
Yeah, it's cool as hell.
Yeah. So yeah, I really, really like it. So I'm excited to spend some time with it.
Mirrors crying. They've always got mirrors facing each other. But I wondered if anybody's ever tried mirrors crying with the rounded mirrors like that.
That's why I'm excited about this. I'm sure somebody has. It wouldn't be any different than like a crystal ball, really, right? Because you have that round, that is it convex, I think is what it's called. Is that the right word? It's not convex. Yeah, I think it's convex. that comes out. So it'd be like doing it in a crystal ball.
Well, let, let, let's do this. When I come out in June, I'll bring mine with me.
Do it. Yeah.
I'll I'll
Right.
bring mine with me, and we'll go somewhere and we'll experiment with that.
Let's do it.
I'll also bring my death whistle.
Really, Joe? So that doesn't surprise me, actually. Some of those buttons, um, yeah, some of those buttons that you got for me, super, super old. Some of those buttons also probably came from a thrift store theirself or off of clothes from there from like 50-ish years ago. So even probably longer, some of them. So that doesn't surprise me that you get some weird vibes or thoughts from some of them. So that's something that I love doing is psychometry. And that's what that is, Joe. That's psychometry, right? You're holding it in your hand and you're feeling the energy and the story from it. So that's something that is I think is always fun. That's what I'm going to do with this mirror later to start.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
Something that Jill said. Yeah, Jill, when Jennifer and I first met, which was 2.5 years ago on another show, when she was actually interviewing me, there was an instant connection between us, and eventually it got to where she's now a remote member of the team. And she has a show. Here's Nick. Hi, Nick. And every now and then she has a show on the network, all based on scheduling that we actually talked about some time ago.
Can you pop Chantel's question or her
Sure.
paragraph up there? I want to read that. Thank you. Actually got moved. Floating dolls, interesting. Doors would lock. Wow. So how long did you guys live there, Chantel? That's crazy. And then I have another question for you. So have you experienced like paranormal activity since then? Because one thing that I hear a lot is that once people kind of experience this, it seems that they're more open to it, and so then they experience it. They continue to experience it. So I'm curious about that, and also if you have any abilities, if you were able to understand what was happening. Thank you, Jill. We were just talking about that a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Joshua. I understand exactly what you're saying with that.
Yeah, we've had very interesting conversations that you missed out on, Joe. You'll have to go back and watch. A lot of questions that I never even thought of until we got through some of this stuff.
Well, we did say, right? Because I asked you anything specific, and we said, nah, let's just let it flow. So
Yeah, we're just doing it.
done.
Yeah, I was expecting just, okay, let's swing it, do an hour show, and then we'll be done. Here we are, an hour and 44 minutes into it, and we're just still going strong. And we got a strong viewership tonight, too.
Nice.
So I'm really happy about
mimicking voice isn't good. Then Clarissa is saying, tell me more. I have a mimicker in my own home. Always hearing the dog or the kids talking. Okay, so when you say a mimicker, are you talking about you hear it and then you think that it's your kids, but it's not your kids? Is that what you're saying? Or you think that it's your dog and it's not your dog? Or are you hearing your kids talk and then you're hearing this voice? That's what I'm wondering. Okay, I will. I'll send you a message or a friend request, Joshua. I've actually never really experienced that, Clarissa. I haven't. Well, I can't say I haven't. I haven't heard the sound, but to me it's more energy, right? I'll be home all by myself and I feel like my kids are there or my kid just walked by or something to that effect. But as far as actually hearing that, I've never heard that. maybe I don't know much about that. I'm going to be honest, but maybe ask Joshua.
Yeah.
Like I think he seems to know about that, but I don't
Yeah.
really know a whole lot about that. Now I know this spirit can sometimes come in, right, and imitate and things like that, but I have not myself experienced that. Okay, that's what I was wondering, Chantel. Like I figured that you probably were to be able to, experience all of that and actually to come out of that and to continue experiencing it. Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for putting that up there.
Yeah. You ought to personalize your address instead of having a whole bunch of numbers.
I don't know how to do that.
It's in your group settings.
Oh, I was going to say, you know how I am with technology. You know, I'm
Yeah.
horrible. I'm terrible, terrible, terrible.
Yeah. That,
I'm not even going to pretend that I know how to do it because I
that's
don't.
your messages I'll get from her from time to time. Hey, how do you do this?
It's good to
So
have friends that know those things because I don't. I know some things. That's not one of them. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn other platforms as well. Like, what is the one that you said we were on? I can't remember.
TikTok.
Oh, not TikTok.
Well, we're streaming on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch,
Wow.
Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Okay. Instagram. Like, I don't even know how to use Instagram. That's the one I was thinking of.
I barely use that at all.
Yeah, I don't know how to use any of them except Facebook, and barely. I get by. We'll leave it there. Thank you, Joshua.
And also, if you guys want to be able to contact her for a personal reading, go to her website that I'm linking right here, right now. This coming straight from your personal page, so I hope you got the right link on there.
You should have done it, Nick.
Yeah, we talked about MySpace a lot. And this is a nice website you got here.
Oh, thank you. I didn't do it. That's why it's nice.
No, but I like it. This is.
It still exists. Like I wouldn't even know. I guess it does if you said you were just on it. So it obviously still exists.
Yeah, I checked it a couple of weeks ago to see if my account was still there. It's not.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's not. No big deal. But at the same time, we're going to need something to fall back on once Facebook falls on his ass again.
Yeah.
Because I do believe it is going to fall.
You think it's going to again?
What's that?
You think so?
I think so, because with so many things that have been happening with how people are getting dinged for posts from 20 years ago.
Right.
And also for certain phrases and things that they're putting up. And it's absolutely nothing, but yet they're getting dinged for child pornography. But yet what they're being dinged on has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Yeah, so I'll be gone if they start charging me as well.
The charging thing's been something that's been talked about for years. I don't think they're dumb enough to try that, because a lot of people will leave. I know I will, because I'm not paying for anything.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
Not either. Do you have any more questions for me, Jeremy, or are we about ready to wrap it up?
I don't. Yeah.
Anybody? Does anybody?
Wrapping up a long time ago, but the conversation just got so good. Does anybody out there have any other questions that you'd like to ask Jennifer while we still have her?
Yeah, and this was so fun. Thank you for inviting me to come on. I missed chatting with you. This was great.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk again sometime. Yeah. After I get my voice fully back.
And I'm glad you joined us, Nick. It's always good to see you too.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Right,
doesn't
Joshua. So that's the whole thing, right? That's I think where they get you. Because I would miss my friends too.
but definitely
For June. You want to go, Joe? You too,
yeah,
Joshua. Thank you.
everybody's really enjoying this.
So, Chantel, thank you, Clarissa. How do I tell if my daughter has the same gifts as I do? I do not know how old your daughter is. But if you can just have an age appropriate talk with her, I think that's a really good idea, especially when we talk about empaths, right? A lot of us, it took me years to understand that I was even an empath, what being an empath was. I didn't ever really I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I always felt really different. She's almost 6. Okay, so it might not really be the age, but watch for this kind of stuff. First of all, if she tells you something, believe her. Okay, kids that age are very, very perceptive, like they understand what's happening. And so what I see happens a lot is that someone will this happened to me when I was growing up, right? If I saw something and I talked about it, it was never a discussion. It was just my imagination or whatever. So first of all, I would say to believe her and to have the conversation with her very, very age appropriate, because you don't want to scare her. She is only 6. And I don't think that there's anything scary about the spirit world, but for a 6-year-old, it could be very scary. It can be very scary to, if she's seeing shadow people or whatever's going on. But I would actually say to give her some time. You may not know a lot of these gifts. We have them when we're younger, and then we kind of grow out of them. We're conditioned out of them. Society conditions us out of them. And then as we get older, they open back up. Certain things can remind us. Basically, what I like to say is remind us who we really are, right? And we go back to that. So I would just pay attention. Pay attention to her language. Pay attention to what she is saying. Pay attention to how, she's acting about some things. Being an empath is super hard. You'll notice mood changes for no particular reason. And sometimes that is just picking up on the energy that's around. Not spirit energy, but just the energy. And we let it affect us. People talk to her in her head. And some of that, again, so we got to go back to that. She's 6. So some of that is being 6. And some of that might be a little bit more. I would just really pay attention. And, if that seems troublesome to you or she continues to do that, also rule out anything medical. That's the first thing I always say. If you have any questions, rule out anything medical going on. And then just talk to her, age appropriate. Just pay attention to her behaviors and how she feels about certain things. And you'll know. 6 is pretty young, I think, to really know, because they still are in the kid age, the growing and the learning and the exploring. But just keep an eye on her and just be very open with her about things. And you'll figure it out, and she'll figure it out.
That was something I wanted to ask when she said that she was nearly 6. Is that I know a lot of us back at that age, we would have imaginary friends.
Yes.
And I've wondered if, that imaginary friend might actually be spirit trying to communicate with you.
It absolutely could be. I will tell you that I believe, I feel that it could be. So kids, and this, Jeremy, anybody that does investigations or works in this field knows this. Kids are very open. Kids haven't been conditioned out of what they know. They're very new to the world, right? They're just very new. And so just what Joe just said, the wonderful wonderment of a child, everything that they see, they say. They filter nothing, right? They filter nothing through, oh my gosh, someone's going to think this is weird, because that's just their world. Yeah, I do remember that, Joe. Shelby would see shadow people in the house as well. She has a new invisible friend all the time. So chances are, Chantel, that she is seeing spirit. Ask her about her friend. You know what? Sit down with her and her friend. Invite her friend to tea. Like, seriously, learn about this friend. I think it would be the most important thing as a parent that you could do is learn about the friend. so that you understand how she's feeling about it, if that makes sense.
Do you think it might be too much to ask her to describe her friend and maybe write it down what her daughter is telling her?
No, not at all. I wouldn't approach it as a worrisome thing, though. I would just say, if she's talking about her invisible friend, I would just say, what's her name? Do you know her name? Or, whatever it is. I would keep it very light. I wouldn't interrogate the child and tell me about this friend, but but yeah, just as if my daughter came home and said that she had met a new friend at school, I'd be like, really? Like, okay, what do you like about them? What is their name? That kind of stuff. I feel like you could just do the same. And then you'll get a feel from her. You'll get a feel. You'll feel how her energy feels in response to those questions.
Yeah, Chantel, definitely
You're welcome.
Keep up to date on this.
Yeah, do. I know, Joe. I wish I had too, right? I wish I had retained all of that, because hindsight, boy, I'm telling you, there are so many things I often get asked, like, when did you know that you had this ability? Well, you know what? I didn't for a really long time. But hindsight, I can see a lot of my behavior, a lot of the things that I did, a lot of the things that I didn't do, a lot of the things that I enjoyed. They all centered around this. I just didn't know it at the time.
And now everything makes sense.
Now it makes sense, right? Now I can look back, like I said, hindsight, and be like, oh, so that's why I took a picnic to the graves across the street. And I would, or across the creek. We had these little graves. They were like 100-year-old graves. Yeah. And we were told to never go over there, right? Oh no. Me and my brother would go over there all the time. He would fish in the creek, and I would sit at this grave, and I would bring a sandwich, an extra sandwich, right? And I would talk. I would go have a picnic. But I had no idea at the time. None. And so just things like that, the hindsight, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I was the weird kid. I've had people that I've gone to high school with that actually it was funny, because I had a conversation with one just a couple years ago, and he said to me, it's really interesting and really fun to talk to you. I didn't even know you could talk. I went to school with you from kindergarten to grade 12, and I didn't know you could talk.
Wow.
I was so introverted, and I was so quiet. I was just in my own world. I didn't know what that world was. I just really was. Hi, Charlie.
Hello, Charlie. You basically came at the end of the show. We're about ready to wrap up.
But I'd love to see you. Thanks for coming on, Charlie. Right, Joe? I agree. Absolutely. Well, it's been so wonderful, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me, Jeremy. I'd love to do it.
Thank you so much for being on. We needed to catch up.
Yes.
We needed to catch up. So until next week, guys, next week I have Sandy Boyd. She runs the Old Lake County Jail out of Crown Point, Indiana. This is the one that John Dillinger escaped from before he was killed. And this is also the same jail that was featured in the Public Enemies movie with Johnny Depp. So I'm looking to have her on the show next week. I need to confirm with her, make sure she's still good to go. But until then, I want to thank you guys for playing along. Definitely a very awesome conversation, a lot of interacting with everybody. Yeah, David, absolutely. We'll talk about that, David. David wants to have you on the show with him.
I would love to.
Yeah. So until next week, folks, if it's paranormal or beyond, it'll be covered on this show.
Good night.
Good night, guys. Have a good weekend.